a motor vehicle, to which I am not operating a motor vehicle. And this is what we are trying to
I guess. Uh,
circumvent.
yeah,
I am
and it's
operating
not
my
it's not
automobile,
circumventing.
not a motor vehicle.
I will ask you this: how is your right to travel removed
by
by
trying
receiving
to
the
require
citation?
by trying to require me to have a license to operate a automobile, which is my private vehicle.
Civil infraction. If you were found responsible, all other things being equal, the court would assess $125 fines, costs, and fees. It is a 0 point ticket. And in the second case that ends with the letter B, that same date, time, and place, you were issued a citation for having an expired registration plate. That is also a civil infraction. It is also a 0 point civil infraction. If you were found responsible, all other things being equal, the court would assess $110 fines, costs, and fees. So, first question, is that the ticket or the two cases that you thought you were appearing about, Mr. Williams?
It is.
Okay. And same question to you, Officer Kellums?
Yes, sir.
Very good. In every civil case, the plaintiff has the burden of proof. And in a case like this, that burden of proof is called by a preponderance of evidence.
Only question I have is, will the laws of the U.S. Supreme Court be applicable, and the federal statutes and definitions of motor vehicle and automobile be applicable in this proceeding?
They are the state of Michigan laws that will be applicable.
Okay. The other question is, are you already not bound by U.S. Supreme Court rulings?
Every court is bound by relevant Supreme Court rulings.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you're asking that, but that's okay. All right, Officer Kellums, if you would begin, please.
So on November 19th, 2024, I was on patrol for the Battle Creek Police Department when I observed the vehicle that Mr. Roosevelt was driving. I observed that it had expired tags on the vehicle. I then conducted a traffic stop on Fountain Street near Meacham Ave. Found Mr. Williams to be driving the vehicle, where I issued him the citations. When speaking with Mr. Williams, he could not provide insurance, and his tags were expired.
All right. Did Mr. Williams say anything to you during the stop about having insurance or not having insurance, or anything about the tags on the plates, anything like that?
He informed me that he did not have to have insurance due to that he was traveling, and to drive a vehicle, you have to have insurance. Something regarding Supreme Court. That's about all he said.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to consider anything else at this point, Officer Kellums?
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Williams, could you hear Officer Kellums' testimony?
Yes, I heard his testimony.
Very good. Thank you for your patience. What do I need to know, sir?
Okay, I did inform Officer Kelly that I am not operating a motor vehicle, but I am operating an automobile. I did inform Officer Kelly of the ruling of Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan, U.S. Department of Labor, 769 Federal 2nd, 1344, where the U.S. Supreme Court's decision has ruled that all codes, rules, and regulations are for government authorities only and not for human creators. In accordance with God laws, all codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process.
All right, I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. Are you telling me that a case at 769 Fed 2nd, 1344 indicates that all laws are unconstitutional?
All right, folks, buckle up, because what you're about to see might just make your head spin. We've got another sovereign citizen in court, this time in Michigan, and this guy has convinced himself that he doesn't need car insurance or registration, because apparently he's not driving a motor vehicle. He's just traveling in his automobile. Yeah, that's the hill he's dying on today. The magistrate tries to keep things calm, walking this man through the process step by step. The officer testifies, expired tags, no insurance, a standard traffic stop. Nothing complicated until this defendant starts quoting federal court cases like he's defending himself at the Supreme Court. He brings up Rodriguez versus Ray. Donovan?
Yes, sir. Rodriguez v. Ray Donovan. And if I'm not mistaken.
And you said that was Department of what?
U.S. Department of Labor.
Okay. U.S. Department of Labor doesn't publish decisions in the Fed 2nd.
Okay,
Can you
that
tell
is
me a
in,
little bit more about the case? What was that issue in the case?
it was regarding what we're discussing here, the requirements of a driver's license and the need when it's required to have one, stating that when you're not operating in commerce, to which I informed the officer that I am not operating in commerce as stated in USC 18 USCA 31 paragraph A6, states that a motor vehicle, the term of motor vehicle meaning every description of carriage, contrivance, propelled or drawn or mechanical powered and used for commercial purposes. This is what Title 18 USCA Section 31A6 states or defines as a motor vehicle, to which I am not operating in commerce. I'm not
For
using.
the purposes of that particular chapter of the United States Code, it would not control what happens in terms of the Michigan legislature defining in Chapter 257 what a motor vehicle is, and an automobile
Right.
under Michigan law is a motor vehicle. But okay, continue.
Right. It's a motor vehicle, which is described as anything, even by the Michigan compliance statute of 751, which you just stated, is determined as something that's transporting goods, which I'm not transporting goods.
I understand your position, and I can tell you that that position doesn't happen to be legally correct. But go ahead.
So you're basically stating that there's a misinterpretation of what's in black and white.
And get this, he claims that all codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional. According to him, the government can't tell him what to do because he's a human creator under God's law. Now, the magistrate, who's probably seen just about everything in his courtroom, tries to reason with him, very patiently, I might add. But instead of listening, the sovereign citizen doubles down. He starts reading random U.S. code sections out loud, trying to prove that Michigan laws don't apply to him because he's not operating in commerce. You can see the magistrate holding it together, but you can almost hear the frustration under his breath.
No, I'm telling you that you have misinterpreted the application of 18 USC 31A6 and 769 F second or Fed second 1344.
Okay,
But
well, I see where
I've
this
heard
is
your
going.
argument.
So there will be no further arguments because I see that you're not going to agree to, because like I said, I've given it to you, the cases where they're like Shapiro v. Thompson, where the U.S. Supreme Court has said that a driver license is not a requirement, that you're trying to convert a right into a privilege, to which is covered by Article 1, Section 8, to which
I'll ask you this. Is that right, the right to travel?
that is a right to travel, convey, however you want it, by the U.S. Constitution.
What you just told me was that somehow but regardless, am trying to convert a right into a privilege. Now, the question I have for you is, what right has been converted to a privilege?
My right to freely travel unencumbered and
now,
unfettered.
I will ask you this. How is your right to travel removed by receiving the citation?
By trying to require me to have a license to operate a automobile, which is my private vehicle.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want me to consider?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I can tell you this. The Michigan motor vehicle laws, including the laws that require you to carry insurance, that require your vehicle to be registered, and require that registration to be current, do not run in violation of any right to travel under the Constitution or the United States Supreme Court decision that you have cited. In fact, Michigan courts have held that essentially the right to travel means the right for you to move from A to B, not the right for you to travel from A to B under your most convenient way. So you could walk from point A to B all you wanted. You could take a taxi or an Uber or a plane or a train or a bus. But if you wish to travel by using a motor vehicle, the Michigan laws are applicable and don't unconstitutionally interfere with the right to travel. It doesn't convert the right to travel into a privilege. You are not denied the right to travel. You may be denied the privilege of traveling via a motor vehicle that you are.
Be honest, I think the magistrate gave this guy way too much time. The whole thing felt like watching someone argue with a stop sign. But here's the thing. The patience of this magistrate is incredible. Most judges would have shut this down the second he said, "I'm not operating a motor vehicle." But instead, he lets him talk. And talk, and talk. It's almost impressive. Let me know what you think. Was the magistrate being too lenient or just professional? Because to me, it looked like a masterclass in restraint. But trust me, this sovereign citizen isn't done yet. He's got more legal wisdom to share, and it somehow gets even more absurd. So the magistrate tries to break it down for him. Calmly
So
Okay, so I
that
stopped you at,
that is what the law says, and that's what I'm finding. Is there anything
okay,
else you
so
want me to consider about that finding?
Shuttleworth v. Birmingham, U.S. 147. Do you mind telling me what the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in that?
US 147 doesn't give me the site of a case. That's an incomplete site of a case. Okay.
It was Shuttle.
And if you wish me to
I said
consider the case,
Shuttleworth.
why don't you tell me what was at issue in the case and what year it was decided?
I said Shuttleworth v. Birmingham, U.S. 147, 1969, where it says
Hold
no
on. US
license.
147 is not a complete site. The way you cite to a case is by name and then volume number and then the name of the publication and then the page number. So, for instance, when you said 769 Fed 2nd 1344, what that means is volume 769 of a book or volumes called the Federal Reporter, second edition, at page 1344. So when you're asking me about this most recent case that you've talked about, what you said was US 147, I think. That's not the citation to a case. So you're going to have to tell me more about that case. Who were the parties to that case and what issue was before the Supreme Court in that case?
Okay, so you didn't hear me cite the name of Shuttleworth v. Birmingham?
I heard you say the name. That doesn't tell me what, that's not a complete cite of the case.
All right. Do you not have the documents that I filed when I filed to say that I want to have an informal hearing? The affidavit that writes that my
there are documents that have been scanned into the court that you dropped off.
Okay. So
from those documents, why don't you tell me the proper citation for Shuttle versus Birmingham?
Okay. Traffic infractions are not crimes, blah, blah, blah. Person faced with. Okay.
Right. Traffic infractions are not crimes. That's absolutely correct. They are civil infractions for a reason.
I was reading from a different case, but the case that I'm citing from states that no license necessary to drive an automobile on public highways, streets. No license is necessary. The word operator should not include any person who solely transport his own property and who transport no persons or property for hire.
Where's that citation from?
Okay, I just appeal it, and that way I can make sure all citations are.
That's fine. I mean, the idea is I can't look up what you're telling me, right, without a proper citation. So you can read. I mean, for all I know, and I don't mean this, I'm using a farcical example. For all I know, you're quoting the municipal court in Honolulu, Hawaii, which has no jurisdiction over Michigan.
It's understandable.
I don't know.
Explaining that Michigan law defines an automobile as a motor vehicle, plain and simple. But our sovereign friend isn't hearing it. He's still trying to twist words, asking, how can my right to travel be turned into a privilege? And honestly, you almost feel bad for him. Almost. Because the magistrate lays it out clearly. You have the right to travel. You do not have the right to drive without following the law. You can walk, take a bus, call a cab, whatever you want. But if you choose to drive a car on public roads, you play by the same rules as everyone else.
I would cite Payne v. Massey, 196 Southwest 2nd, 493, Texas, 273.
Okay. Well, and I can tell you that Texas law, a court interpreting Texas law, that decision wouldn't be controlling on a Michigan court. But that's fine. I think I understand where you're going. If you want, I don't need to consider anything else. I'm just asking you, is there anything else
Okay, well,
you want to present to me?
if you're not going to consider anything else, then we can proceed on to your ruling, of which I know you're going to find. So, and like
But
I said,
no,
like you said, I have a right to appeal it. So,
yeah, and I'm willing to listen. If you're going to quote something, I need to know what you're quoting, and I need a proper citation so I can look it up myself, right? Because otherwise, people could just run around quoting Mickey Mouse if they wanted.
is my automobile not my private, personal automobile that's not being used in commerce?
I would have no idea the use of your motor vehicle, and it's not relevant to me for the purposes of deciding whether you're responsible for these civil infractions.
Okay. Well, I have nothing else for you to consider.
Well, very good. I'm letting you know the law does not make a distinction between your using the vehicle for personal reasons or you're using the vehicle for commercial reasons when your registration plate is expired and when you fail to show proof of insurance. Both of those are required.
The MCL language.
Both of those are required under Michigan law for anyone operating any motor vehicle. That's what I can tell you. So,
correct.
If you're
a motor vehicle, to which I am not operating a motor vehicle, and this is what we are trying to,
I guess,
circumvent.
Yeah,
I am operating my automobile, not a motor vehicle.
I can tell you that an automobile is considered a motor vehicle under the Michigan Motor Vehicle Code, so that's fine. Is there anything else you want me to consider?
Nope.
Very good. All right. So I've listened very carefully to the evidence. I do find that it's more likely than not that when you were required to by Officer Kellums at a traffic stop show proof that your vehicle was insured, that you failed to do so, and that it is more likely that your not your operator's license, I'm sorry, the registration plates on the vehicle were expired. So I'm going to assess the $125 on the no proof of insurance case and the $110 on the expired plates case. All right. Thank you both for your time and patience. You're all set. Have a very good day.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Still, this man just keeps going. He starts tossing out random case names like Shuttleworth v. Birmingham, but can't even cite them correctly. It's like he's reading from a script he found in a Facebook group titled How to Beat Traffic Tickets with God's Law. The magistrate's patience at this point is saint level. He could have ended the hearing 20 minutes ago, but he's still giving this man the chance to make sense, and failing miserably. Finally, the magistrate rules. 2 civil infractions, no insurance, expired registration. Total, $235 in fines. And to his credit, the sovereign citizen actually takes it surprisingly well. No yelling, no insults, just a polite, "Have a good day?" Honestly, that's rare. It's like halfway through the hearing, he realized this sovereign script wasn't going to work and decided to cut his losses. And you know what? The magistrate handled it perfectly. Calm, factual, and fair. The guy got his say, the law got upheld, and nobody lost their cool. That's how it should go. So what do you think? Did the magistrate give him too much leeway, or did he play it just right? Drop your thoughts below. And if you enjoy seeing courtroom moments like this where patience meets pure nonsense, make sure to like, subscribe, and stick around, because we've got plenty more real courtroom chaos coming your way.